You see that up there? Hello. You see that poster up there? That was created by the freedoms afforded to Americans by their Constitution. Now, in all interest of transparency, I'm a Canadian. I was born in Belgrade in Serbia. I've been to America maybe for a couple of days, so I'm not exactly an expert on that country. But you have to wonder, the people who created the landing on the moon, the act, the rockets, the science, the freedoms required to create such an accomplishment, why would such people ban TikTok? As a musician, I've often wondered about opening a TikTok account, even though I'm very terrified of the spotlight. And in fact, even now I'm feeling terror just from recording this video because I'm a person who fears being in the spotlight. But the ban on TikTok is a step backwards as far as freedom of speech is concerned, and as well as the power of America, in my opinion, anyway. Because, how do I explain this? People say it's the Chinese influence, and I'm not an expert on it. I didn't follow the whole thing. I've never even downloaded a TikTok app once in my life, but I wanted to. And now I can't because even we Canadians seem to be banned for some reason. I mean, Donald Trump jokes about us becoming the 51st state, but it's not a joke, really. I mean, we're very similar to America. I mean, I don't see many differences if we're banned as well. And so I can only explain what I feel about the TikTok ban as a musician using the internet. So, back in the 90s, I built a website, boyanland.com, and I believed, in my wisdom, that I can sell records by getting a CDR burner. And so I would burn CDs at home. I had a color printer, inkjet, bubblejet, whatever. And I would make CDs and I would ship them to people who would send me a check for $10, $20. This was the belief of a teenager who didn't understand business logic at all. And so naturally, I didn't understand about record deals and any of that stuff. But I posted my samples on my website, samples of my music, and I fully believed that if people heard my samples, they would leave a nice comment in the guest book. Back then, websites had guest books, and that's a space where you can leave a comment, just like YouTube has comment section. And so a lot of people left very positive, encouraging, motivating, positive feedback. Things like your music is awesome, you have a unique style, etc., etc. But occasionally, a bad apple was in my basket. Somebody would leave a negative comment. And for one reason or another, I'm not really sure why. Maybe because I'm disabled with low vision, so I'm very self conscious and I have very low self esteem in general. Maybe I valued the negative comments way more than all the positive comments because I knew I was talented. I knew I had a lot of skill, technical skill with the software. And back then, composing music in a DOS program was really tedious and complicated. It looked like a spreadsheet application. Imagine writing music using letters and numbers and not notes. I mean, that's how complicated it is. And so these negative comments, I wanted to prevent from being left on my website. And so I toyed with the idea of putting a quiz that said, do you like my music? Yes or no. And only people who said yes could leave a comment. And people who said no, I would say, thank you for your opinion, and they would not be allowed to leave a comment. Now, naturally, somebody could lie and they could say yes and they could leave a negative comment. But back then, even back then, before all this social media stuff existed, I was against the idea of censorship because I believe everyone in the whole world should have the right to freedom of speech, whether negative or positive. And I recognized that it was my problem that I felt bad about negative comments about my music. And so I worked very hard not to let those comments affect me negatively. And I succeeded. I studied psychology. I looked into self-actualization and all these other teachings in the world that exist. And negative comments didn't take such a drastic effect on me anymore. Now, how does this relate to the TikTok ban? Well, TikTok is only a source of words. That's all TikTok is. It's somebody sending a message to other people in the world. And so Americans, by banning TikTok, are saying that they're afraid of other people's words. They're terrified that Chinese influence can bring down all of America. Doesn't that make Americans seem very weak? I mean, aren't Americans saying we have such a weak society that a few fun videos on TikTok can ruin our society? I mean, doesn't that say, come on in and conquer us? We're weak, we can't handle words. The ban really is against freedom of speech. It sends a very negative message to the world. It says hello to tyrants and dictators, that they should all continue oppressing people by not giving them freedoms to talk, to express themselves. If there is hate expressed on TikTok, it should be handled by banning, by talking to people through behavior adjustments, etc., but not by banning an entire platform. Now, as I said before, in the interest of full transparency, I've never used TikTok, so maybe I'm speaking out of my bum. But I think I would like to see TikTok unbanned. It's just a platform like YouTube video. It doesn't matter what country it comes from. Americans should be so well educated that even words from the Chinese government cannot turn them against their own country. I mean, I'm not saying here anything radical. This is all just common sense. So I'm not in favor of the TikTok ban. But as a musician, I mean, I'm biased because I would like to make music videos and post them on TikTok. So now an avenue of marketing, of growth, of expression, of creativity is closed off from me. And I don't like that. I don't like that the weakness of the current American government has prevented me from hearing about the world. I am disabled. I have low vision. I can't even travel by myself because I barely see the world, literally. I barely see the world with these glasses. I can't even read street names when I'm walking around downtown Toronto, let alone finding my way in Rome or in Paris. I've never even been there. I only know what Rome and Paris look like through the magic of the internet. Thankfully, people on YouTube post videos. I can even watch some guy sleeping on the Japanese bullet train, where I've never had the opportunity to go. TikTok, by being banned, doesn't really conform with the ideas of a free market, of freedom of speech, etc. Anyway, enough about that. Goodbye.